Hi, everybody. Welcome to week number 7. This is a basic intro to charts within Excel. And what I want to cover in this video is really just kind of like charts conceptually, and kind of tie in sort of a mathematical underpinning of charts and graphs with how to kind of work with them within Excel. So the first thing to note is that a chart is a visual representation of data. Okay, visuals are really important because while we as accountants might be used to and comfortable working with data in tabular format, a lot of the world isn't, and a lot of people that we're going to work with, looking at data in a table will not be familiar or easy or comfortable for them. A picture is going to be worth, as they say, 1,000 words. So let's take a look at, for instance, this average GPA by major. If you notice, we can kind of eyeball this and see that, okay, most of our majors have an average GPA of maybe in the 3s, management is a bit lower, et cetera. If you notice over here, a couple things jump out. Number one, we can kind of eyeball the fact that most majors have a similar kind of average GPA, except for management. Management is kind of a noticeable lower average GPA. Now, this might be useful, maybe to a dean or a professor, maybe for a grant. Who knows? Like there's going to be some use potentially for kind of an aggregated look at sort of a departmental kind of view of this. Notice that we have, for any kind of a graph, we have x-axis data and y-axis data. So we want to remember kind of the fundamentals of what makes a chart, right? The x-axis are the categories of data that we're measuring, right? In this instance, it's major, right? The y-axis is the actual numerical quantification that we're measuring within those categories. So the y-axis in this case is the average GPA. So you need to kind of be comfortable with y versus x-axis, and also kind of what we're selecting and how we're selecting it. Now, in terms of kind of how these concepts are represented within Excel, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my chart, go to Chart Design, and then choose up here Select Data. Okay, now Select Data is going to give me kind of the guts of how the chart is created. If you notice, select chart range. If I click on that, it's going to show me that I've already got this data selected. Now, this is what I did when I kind of created the chart in the first place. This is what you're going to do when you create your charts in exercises 1, 2, and 3. Now, the other thing to note is that you can see here y values and x values. Now, the y values are going to be my GPA, and the x values, click down here, are going to be my majors. And also, I should note I have the grand total here. This is really an average, so I should really, overall average will be a better kind of name for that. And I can change that. I'll show you how I change that in a second. It is important to note, though, how to kind of marry up your understanding of y and x value with the Excel interface, okay, and then how it ties into the visual. Now, I mentioned before grand total. Let's say I wanted to change this to overall average. Notice how when I change this data here, check out what's going to happen on the chart here when I click. This changes to overall average. So this is part of the beauty of the Excel chart making feature is that, once you have your data created, you can visualize it. And then if you need to, you can always kind of update anything you might need to, like I just did with the overall average, okay? When you click on a chart, you're going to have chart design and chart format open up. Just know that these options are up here. Also add chart element. This is going to give you a lot of the elements, including your chart title, data labels, a data table if you want it, grid lines if you want to show grid lines, or maybe not. For instance, I can click off of this and it gets rid of those grid lines. I can then as easily put them back, and so on. You can also create a legend if you need it. So play around with this. This week is really kind of a lot of you guys playing around with the user interface within Excel, but of course, it's essential that you kind of get the y-axis, x-axis, and kind of chart essentials down pat before you start playing around with the interface. Okay? Keep in touch with questions as always. Thanks.